This is Tommy and Kimberly from Ravens Creek, and have you ever heard this noise? It's called silence. If you have spiritual silence, you need to get rid of it immediately.
Welcome to Wrathful Wednesday. If you're experiencing spiritual silence, you need to find out where that leak is coming from. Here's some of our top ideas.
Sometimes spiritual silence happens when you're trying to be drawn closer. You know, like when you whisper in somebody's ear and you think, man, we are such good friends.
If you're facing spiritual silence, it may be that God is trying to increase your faith. We all know that there's that account in the Bible where Jesus fell asleep in the boat and his disciples had to face a storm. And when he woke up, cranky, he said to them, "Ye of little faith." And when he said, "Ye of little faith," we know that means Jesus increased their faith.
Amen. If you're facing that God is silent to you, it might be that God is trying to reveal a new thing about himself. You know, like when you're silent to other people and you're trying to reveal something new about yourself.
We all have this problem that sometimes in our spirituality, we just feel a little too much emotion and we just use our emotion too much and it's based upon experiences. But just because God's silent doesn't mean he's not present. Hey.
We've all heard that amazing classic, life is a highway. And if we go with that, we all know we're driving down this pathway of life and God is our GPS. Now, God being our GPS, sometimes he's silent, and that's a good thing. It means that we're on the right path. Otherwise, he'd be telling us, you better turn right up here in a quarter mile. You better turn right in 200 feet. And we're in the left lane.
Get your accent out of my head.
I'm sorry.
Sweet Jesus.
Jesus, take the wheel. So when he is silent, you know you're going the right way.
That's right.
You are on that right path, and you do not need to be leaving that right path. Unless you're turning right. Then you need to turn right and leave that path. Because God will tell you to turn right when it's time to turn right. Unless the mute button's on. And then hopefully you're going to hear it anyway. Because God's going to be silent. He's the GPS and you got him on mute. Then it's your fault.
We know that sometimes when God is silent, it's because we are not perceiving with spiritual eyes. You need to hear God with your spiritual eyes.
Mm-hmm.
We need to stop looking at physical circumstances in front of us and see those words with our spiritual eyes.
Amen. We all know we're not supposed to be caught up in our own time. We are supposed to be caught up in God's time. And God's time is always on time. And so if God is silent and not answering, it is not because it is our time. It is because it is not yet God's time. And even if we think it is our time, it is not yet the time. Because it's about God's time and not our time. And time sometimes ticks by too slowly. But the answer is still coming if you will just wait for God's time. We just need to wait for God's time and keep on crying out until he answers us. Because it is all about God's timing and not our own timing.
If you're facing spiritual silence, it may be because God has already talked to you.
He does not repeat himself.
God does not need to repeat himself.
He never repeats himself.
If he was going to repeat himself, he'd be repeating himself.
And that's redundantly repeating.
That is not what God does. He does not repeat himself.
He is not part of the school of redundancy school.
He does not need to repeat himself.
He repeats only himself when he needs to repeat himself. Otherwise, he never repeats.
If he's already told you what to do, you need to just go ahead and do it. He does not need to repeat himself.
He doesn't repeat nothing. Not even his own videos. What the fire?
You're still developing. It's not that you can't hear God. You just have no idea what he sounds like because you're so young in the faith. If you weren't so young in the faith, you would know you know what God would sound like.
Right.
But you so little, you don't even have ears yet.
Right.
You're
That's
a
what
little
I mean.
fetus. You just a little Christian fetus. That's all you are. You just did beg and cries. But when you get to be a man, you go to get some ears. Yes, you are. Before you were a Christian fetus, ain't nothing but a twinkle in your daddy's eye.
Come to Ravens Creek, the only place where you can hear about Christian fetuses and laugh about it.
When you were young in the faith, you had to outrun many other marathoners.
Many.
And then you came together with your
election
and implanted in your cardinal nature something that grew up and developed.
And didn't have any ears to be able to hear.
Right.
Because you're too young.
Right. It's just silence of God was because it was just a little bitty.
But it's okay because once you get older, you're going to have another problem where you can't hear because your ears are going out. And your eyes won't be able to see either. So you won't be able to see spiritually with your eyes to hear God and hearing God with your eyes and ear holes.
And your ear holes. I think you all understand we're trying to get your attention. Sometimes God has to do this to us. And that's why we face spiritual silence.
We're too active, too distracted, and sometimes minding our own business instead of God's business.
Sometimes you face silence because you're wearing a white tee. Iniquity, because you have iniquity. Is it a white tee or iniquity?
It's supposed to be a white garment.
Tommy?
Yes.
What kind of power do you have?
I have soul power. And when I got my soul power, I do not give it to the enemy. And the reason I do not give it to the enemy is because I want to keep my power for myself so that I can hear God's voice. Otherwise, I have learned from my pastor that if I give my power to the devil, I cannot hear God anymore.
You power to hear?
My soul power.
We know that sometimes God doesn't talk to us because we are going through a time of testing and refinement. So God is silent because we taken a test and He cannot give us the answers. This is not an open book test. You cannot open your Bible and get through this test.
That is correct.
No, this is a test. You have to do it all on your own. There's no God. There's no open book. It's you taking a test.
And you cannot talk to other people. You taking the test yourself.
That's right.
No need to adjust the brightness on your screen. We are just in a dark night of the soul. All you can hear is me. You cannot hear God because you're in a dark night. A dry season. A day of testing. Purging. Refinement. And nobody talks in that. I don't know why I'm talking. Because in a dark night, all there is weeping and gnashing of teeth. In the darkness. Because we're in darkness. And we can't see. Because there's no light in the darkness. And we all know that God doesn't go in the darkness.
I want to go home. The problem is, the voice of God is rare sometimes. So, as we're all taking turns, you don't get to hear Him for a long time. That's just how it goes in the spiritual world.
It's like a prayer circle that not everybody talks at once.
Right, you don't get one turn, and then you squeeze the hand and it goes to the next person. Sometimes God squeezes your hand and He's going to the next person. That's all that's happening. It's not like you have any problems. That's not it. This is you. And this is why you can't hear God, because you keep going like this. Stop it.
God is never silent. You know that Christmas song, Silent Night? Wrong!
Do you know why I was silent? Everybody was silent so they could hear the baby. Because God's never silent.
And He was talking all night.
Go, Jesus, go. Why is it groaning so much, baby? Jesus better make a poo-poo. Nope. He's the Son of God. Always makes noise.
Never silent. Not even at night. And you need your spiritual eyes to discern what He's saying.
When we live in our safe, good Christian bubble, We're in the center of God's activities.
Center.
But sometimes when you get outside of our nice little Christian bubble and you become the outsider, you now can't hear God.
It's like being outside of the box.
He's got a surround sound system, but you gotta be inside the Christian bubble. Only in the Christian bubble can you hear the voice of God.
And there ain't no thing as a fringe Christian either.
Oh.
Either you inside or you not inside. There is no graying with God.
Grays are heretics. Most importantly, we all know the truth is God is never silent.
He never stops speaking.
So if you got spiritual silence, it's because you don't know anything about God.
And you can't hear him.
With your spiritual eyes.
Because God is never silent.
You need your spiritual eyeballs to hear God because he's never silent.
And your spiritual eyeballs help your spiritual ear holes.
Nobody ever sang, "Hush, baby Jesus, don't say a word," because baby Jesus can make all the grunts he needs to make.
And everybody says, amen.
He's God.
It always smelled like roses when Jesus poots. Sometimes cinnamon.
Or vanilla. Because God is never silent. His farts are never silent. They may be deadly, but they ain't never silent, because God isn't silent. Remember, if you're experiencing spiritual silence, just go ask your pastor. He'll tell you all these great things that we just listed for you. Each and every one of them could be true.
Preach it.
But it's not. Join us next time as we give you a little bit more Ravens food. Too active, too distracted.
Too active, too distracted. Too active, too distracted.
You may be distracted.
Distracted by
Because
all the things to
you're
do.
too active.
Do all the things you want to do.
Too active.
Don't just be too active.
You need to be.
You gotta be distracted.
Be a little more evangelical.